Pythagoras, born circa 570 BCE, Samos, Ionia, Greece, died circa 500 to 490 BCE, Metapontum, Lucania, Italy, Greek philosopher, mathematician, and founder of the Pythagorean Brotherhood that, although religious in nature, formulated principles that influenced the thought of Plato and Aristotle and contributed to the development of mathematics and Western rational philosophy. For a fuller treatment of Pythagoras and Pythagorean thought, see Pythagoreanism. Little of what is known about Pythagoras comes from contemporary accounts, and the first fragmentary accounts of his life came in the 4th century BCE, about 150 years after his death. Pythagoras was born in Samos and likely went to Egypt and Babylon as a young man. He immigrated to southern Italy about 532 BCE, apparently to escape Samos's tyrannical rule, and established his ethico-political academy at Croton, now Crotone, Italy. Because of anti-Pythagorean feeling in Croton, he fled that city in 510 BCE for Metapontum, now Metapono, Italy, where he died. It is difficult to distinguish Pythagoras' teachings from those of his disciples. Pythagoras himself likely wrote no books, and Pythagoreans invariably supported their doctrines by indiscriminately citing their master's authority. Pythagoras, however, is generally credited with the theory of the functional significance of numbers in the objective world and in music. Other discoveries often attributed to him, the incommensurability of the side and diagonal of a square, for example, and the Pythagorean theorem for right triangles, were probably developed only later by the Pythagorean school. More probably, the bulk of the intellectual tradition originating with Pythagoras himself belongs to mystical wisdom rather than to scientific scholarship. René Descartes, born March 31, 1596, La Haye, Touraine, France, died February 11, 1650, Stockholm, Sweden, French mathematician, scientist, and philosopher. Because he was one of the first to abandon scholastic Aristotelianism, because he formulated the first modern version of mind-body dualism, from which stemmed the mind-body problem, and because he promoted the development of a new science grounded in observation and experiment, he is generally regarded as the founder of modern philosophy. Applying an original system of methodical doubt, he dismissed apparent knowledge derived from authority, the senses, and reason and erected new epistemic foundations on the basis of the intuition that, when he is thinking, he exists. This he expressed in the dictum I think, therefore I am, best known in its Latin formulation, cogito, ergo sum, though originally written in French, je pense, donc Jesus. He developed a metaphysical dualism that distinguishes radically between mind, the essence of which is thinking, and matter, the essence of which is extension in 3 dimensions. Descartes' metaphysics is rationalist, based on the postulation of innate ideas of mind, matter, and God, but his physics and physiology, based on sensory experience, are mechanistic and empiricist. Although Descartes' birthplace, La Haye, now Descartes, France, is in Touraine, his family connections lie south, across the Creuse River in Poitou, where his father, Joachim, owned farms and houses in Châtellerault and Poitiers. Because Joachim was a councillor in the Parlement of Brittany in Rennes, Descartes inherited a modest rank of nobility. Descartes' mother died when he was 1 year old. His father remarried in Rennes, leaving him in La Haye to be raised first by his maternal grandmother and then by his great-uncle in Châtellerault. Although the Descartes family was Roman Catholic, the Poitou region was controlled by the Protestant Huguenots, and Châtellerault, a Protestant stronghold, was the site of negotiations over the Edict of Nantes, 1598, which gave Protestants freedom of worship in France following the intermittent wars of religion between Protestant and Catholic forces in France. Descartes returned to Poitou regularly until 1628. In 1606 Descartes was sent to the Jesuit college at La Flèche, established in 1604 by Henry IV, reigned 1589 to 1610. At La Flèche, 1,200 young men were trained for careers in military engineering, the judiciary, and government administration. In addition to classical studies, science, mathematics, and metaphysics, Aristotle was taught from scholastic commentaries. They studied acting, music, poetry, dancing, writing, and fencing. In 1610, Descartes participated in an imposing ceremony in which the heart of Henry IV, whose assassination that year had destroyed the hope of religious tolerance in France and Germany, was placed in the cathedral at La Flèche. In 1614, Descartes went to Poitiers, where he took a law degree in 1616. At this time, Huguenot Poitiers was in virtual revolt against the young King Louis XIII, reigned 1610-43. Descartes' father probably expected him to enter Parlement, but the minimum age for doing so was 27, and Descartes was only 20. In 1618, he went to Breda in the Netherlands, where he spent 15 months as an informal student of mathematics and military architecture in the peacetime army of the Protestant stadtholder, Prince Maurice, ruled 1585 to 1625. In Breda, Descartes was encouraged in his studies of science and mathematics by the physicist Isaac Berechnen, 1588 to 1637, for whom he wrote the Compendium of Music, written 1618, published 1650, his first surviving work. Descartes spent the period 1619 to 1628 traveling in northern and southern Europe, where, as he later explained, he studied the book of the world. While in Bohemia in 1619, he invented analytic geometry, a method of solving geometric problems algebraically and algebraic problems geometrically. He also devised a universal method of deductive reasoning, based on mathematics, that is applicable to all the sciences. This method, which he later formulated in Discourse on Method, 1637, and Rules for the Direction of the Mind, written by 1628 but not published until 1701, consists of 4 rules. 1. Accept nothing as true that is not self-evident. 2. Divide problems into their simplest parts. 3. Solve problems by proceeding from simple to complex. And 4. Recheck the reasoning. These rules are a direct application of mathematical procedures. In addition, Descartes insisted. Descartes also investigated reports of esoteric knowledge, such as the claims of the practitioners of theosophy to be able to command nature. Although disappointed with the followers of the Catalan mystic Ramon Llull, 1232-1315-16, and the German alchemist Heinrich Cornelius Agrippa von Nettesheim, 1486-1535, he was impressed by the German mathematician Johann Thalhaber, 1580-1635, a member of the mystical society of the Rosicrucians. Descartes shared a number of Rosicrucian goals and habits. Like the Rosicrucians, he lived alone and in seclusion, changed his residence often. During his 22 years in the Netherlands, he lived in 18 different places, practiced medicine without charge, attempted to increase human longevity, and took an optimistic view of the capacity of science to improve the human condition. At the end of his life, he left a chest of personal papers, none of which has survived, with a Rosicrucian physician, his close friend Corne van Hogeland, who handled his affairs in the Netherlands. Despite these affinities, Descartes rejected the Rosicrucians' magical and mystical beliefs. For him, this period was a time of hope for a revolution in science. The English philosopher Francis Bacon, 1561-1626, An Advancement of Learning, 1605, had earlier proposed a new science of observation and experiment to replace the traditional Aristotelian science, as Descartes himself did.